How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we're going to talk about Michael Cohen's congressional testimony a little bit more, but not necessarily about him. It'd be more about those that were actually asking him questions and a young lady who happened to be there at that same point in time going against his narrative of Trump being a racist, a con man, a cheat, etc., so on and so forth. The people involved here are Democratic House Rep Rashida Tlaib, however you say her name, Republican House Rep Mark Meadows, and Lynne Patton, who works for Trump in the White House. Now, before I even get into it, before I even get into my teardown, what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and roll two clips. The first clip, you'll see Mark Meadows alongside Lynne Patton. Then you'll see Rashida, whatever her last name is, and her response to the first clip. After we get down both clips, I'll talk about what happened there. I'll give you my 2 cents, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
You made some very demeaning comments about the president that Ms. Patton doesn't agree with. In fact, it has to do with your claim of racism. She says that as a daughter of a man born in Birmingham, Alabama, that there is no way that she would work for an individual who was racist.
Just to make a note, Mr. Chairman, just because someone has a person of color, a black person working for them, does not mean they aren't racist. And it is insensitive that some would even say it's the fact that someone would actually use a prop, a black woman, in this chamber, in this committee, is alone racist in itself.
Okay, so you see that, you see what's going on, you heard that. Now, how is it right for Rashida, whatever, Tlaib, to say that about not only Lynne Patton, but also Mark Meadows? First of all, Lynne Patton is a fully grown adult woman. She is not mentally disabled. She has full agency, full control over herself. If she wants to come to the actual hearing, kangaroo court, whatever you want to call it, to defend her friend, Donald Trump, who has been a friend of hers for a very long time. The whole family's been a friend of hers for a long time. If she's there to defend him, then how do you say that Mark Meadows brought her in as a prop? She is not a cardboard cutout. She is not an invalid. She is somebody that has full control of her mind, body, all of that. You can't say that somebody brought her in as a prop. She came there to defend Donald Trump. Michael Cohen used to be a friend of hers. I think Michael Cohen got her into the actual White House. So she will also be a character witness against him. Okay? She's like, look, this guy's changed. He's flipped. He's trying to save his own hind parts. He's lying about Donald Trump being a racist, all this, that, and the third. Mark Meadows was reading her statements about how she can never be in the White House if she thought Trump was a racist, and her background, where her family came from, all this, that, and the third. So he's reading her statements. She's standing right there. Now, I saw this on the news. They try to paint it like, oh, she was just there just as window dressing and she didn't have any control over herself. But she was there voluntarily. Okay. Nobody just put a gun to her head and said, hey, come here. You understand what I mean? The Democrats find themselves in a very weird situation. I've been saying for a long time that the real racists, the real bigots, the real hateful people, whatever you want to call it, you can call her racist, you can call her bigoted, you can call her hateful, you can call her all three. It doesn't really matter, because they say, when I say they, I mean the left, they say all those three things about us over here on the right. Or you're a bigot, you're hateful, you're xenophobic, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, all these different things. We're not actually those things. It's them. And rather than them actually sticking to their guns about us being that and trying to so-called rise above, all they do when they get called out for things like what Rashida Tlaib and all these other individuals have done, rather than trying to kind of walk it back and apologize, they double down. Now, Rashida Tlaib did kind of apologize, but only to Mark Meadows. But she didn't really apologize. It was more of a, well, I didn't really say that. That's not really what I meant. Basically trying to clarify her statements, but not trying to run away from the statements. She's basically saying what I said is right, but I didn't mean to call you a racist, Mark Meadows. But she didn't say any kind of apology to Lynne Patton, which lets me know that she still thinks that she was a prop and just brought there just because. Her whole central point was just because you have a so-called prop here, that doesn't mean that Trump is not a racist. But what about what Lynne Patton actually said in the written statements, and what about her actually being there? How about you ask her specifically about Trump rather than just saying she's brought there as a prop, just denying her total agency as a human being? Rather than the Democrats trying to walk all that stuff back that they're being accused of, they doubled down. I saw AOC double down on it, and she basically co-signed Rashida Tlaib talking about tokenism, all this, that, and the third. If you want to talk about tokenism, let's talk about the Democratic Party. Their whole thing is about identity. There's no room for the white man anymore. You got to be a so-called person of color. You got to be a woman. You got to be transgender. You got to be no gender. You got to say that all genders are equal, all this, that, and the third. You got to basically run your campaign on those things. And if you don't, then you won't get support. AOC is talking about building a hit list of Democrats that don't want to play ball with their whole narrative to get people to protest against them to get them out of office. Personally, I like what I'm seeing on the left. Not because I like their direction personally, like their politics. I like what I'm seeing because what I see is a party that's going to be fractured very soon. You got some sensible Democrats, the more moderate people like your Joe Manchins of the world, who are going to be totally on the island by themselves because the rest of the party, or a large piece of it, will be going in a whole different direction. You have some less moderate Democrats that don't want to go super far left, total commie, total no food, total eating out of garbage in Venezuela. They don't want to go down that road. But at the same time, they don't want to come on our side. They're still lefties, but they don't want to go so far left. What's going to happen to them? They're going to have one or two choices. Leave politics. Well, you got a few choices. Leave politics, go to the right, or basically bow down to what the far left is saying. Because how are they going to really be able to move on? The future of the Democratic Party is your AOC. It's your Rashida Tlaibs. It's your Ilhan Omar's, these crazy, ridiculous people that would not have seen the light of day just a few years ago. But hey, like I said, I like what I'm seeing. All that is really going to do at the end of the day as I close is just bring more folks to our side. How do you feel about people getting called tokens for standing up for their friend because they're black? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, he could have easily brought somebody that wasn't black. I mean, would you say the same thing then? See, you change the narrative based upon the color of the person, based upon the gender, based upon their sexuality, all that kind of stuff. That's what it's really about. AOC could have the same talking points as a white person, but the white person would not get as much attention as AOC because AOC has an identity on her side, which is basically what the Democrats have hitched their wagon to over the past quite a few years, ever since Obama and really before then. So it'd be interesting to see what happens during the primary. That's really going to tell you what's going on right there. It's going to be more of a watershed moment, more so than the congressional hearings and the Green New Deal and stuff like that. You're really going to see what's going on then when you have people that are protesting outside of Elizabeth Warren's political offices talking about we don't want any white women, down with the white man, all this, that, and the third. So that's pretty much all I got. But what say you? Do you think that it was racist, bigoted, hateful, or outright mean, or anything else for Rashida Tlaib to refer to Lynne Patton, a woman who has become somebody? This ain't just a person off the street. She's been dealing with the Trumps for a long time. She is a woman of her own making. Do you think it was right for her to label her as a token? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. Do you think that it made sense for Lynne Patton to go there to defend her friend? Why try to say that Mark Meadows just brought her like she has no agency of her own? Slavery is over with. I know the Democrats want to keep harping on the past and like it's real today, but it's not real today. Slavery has been over with for a long time, over 150 years. Let it go. Ain't nobody just being drug in by their chains and just put on a table for everybody to see. People have their own free will, their own free agency. And if we want to keep it that way, hopefully we vote against the left and vote more for the right upcoming 2020 and here on out. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share. and subscribe. Peace.